Hello guys, welcome back to the Free Hammers podcast live. It's me and Paul this week, and we're going to be going through everything West Ham related and any news that we like to cover through sports. If you've got any questions throughout the show, put them in the live chat and we'll try our best to answer them. If you've not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you like our content, and please share with your friends. Let's get on with it. It's the Free Hammers and it's live. Hello guys, how we doing? I know what you're all thinking.
He burst my eardrums.
He's back. End of the season, he's decided he's going to come back for a show.
Yeah.
Lee, mate, welcome back. What you've been
It's
up
like
to?
The Undertaker, mate. He just comes out once a year.
Yeah, WrestleMania.
Exactly, yeah.
Today is sort of a season review. Talk about any sort of news that's about. Lee, we'll start with you, mate. What do you make of the season? Relieved that it's over?
Yeah, it was a weird one, obviously. Good start, rubbish middle, decent end. Is the best way to describe it. We went from thinking we was going to qualify for Europe to sweating over whether Watford would beat bloody Bournemouth or whoever ended up being. But no, it's all right.
Back a year and say David Moyes would be in charge of us a year ago, what would you both say? Paul?
Yeah, it's season to forget, really, isn't it? Season to forget. I'll be honest with you, mate. It started so long ago, I've already forgot most of it anyway. But poor season. Like Lee says, we started really well. Sort of thinking about Europe. I was talking to mates in work about we're going to finish above Man United. That all went really well, didn't it? Poor season. Glad it's over. Looking forward to next season. Although, if I'm being honest, we're probably going to be in a relegation battle next year as well. Moyes will probably be gone by Christmas, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that, mate, actually. I was saying that in some of my little review videos. It's not come out yet, the David Moyes and Pellegrini one, but a little teaser. I did say that don't be too harsh and don't be too optimistic in terms of where we're going to be next year. I think another relegation battle is on the cards, and anything above that is quite a positive. What about you, Lee?
Well, as a pressing example is last night I watched Swansea Brentford, and you look at the football they play compared to how we play, it's like 10 times as good as what we were watching. It's massive difference, and that scares me.
Leeds
one of those
as well.
ones.
Maybe
I genuinely think that no matter what match, in any football that I watch, I always think that. Any football I watch, I always think, why can't West Ham pass the ball like that? Why don't West Ham have those little triangles? Why don't West Ham move the ball that quickly?
Why don't we
I don't know.
That's what I always think. Why don't we press?
Yeah.
So let's go back, start of the season, Pellegrini. We all know what the point was where it all went wrong. But how much of that does Pellegrini lie on his sword with that in terms of what I'm getting at? The Fabianski injury and sticking with Roberto. How costly was that then? Lee?
It's seemingly very, but he must have been amazing in training, Roberto, to even get anywhere near. I mean,
yeah, I saw that yesterday as well.
I didn't catch that. So what was it?
He's linked with Atletico Madrid.
Oh, bloody hell.
So it's funny.
Two.
No, go on, Lee. Sorry, mate.
No, it's he was a joke. I mean, he just doesn't look like a goalkeeper. You sort of look at him and you think he's not built like a goalkeeper. He's not commanding. He's not. I mean, I will come into later. I have problems with our current number one as well at the moment. I think that's an area we're gonna have to invest in soon. But no, Roberto was him coming into the team. It's no coincidence that's when the some of the comments there. I see Oxford away. Sort of from that moment onwards, it was pretty dire, and that was when he came in to the team. And that's where we are. But to pin the whole bad season on him, I don't think is fair.
What about the signings then? If we go right back to the transfer window then, what do you point at there? Like, Haller signing was, fantastic signing at the time. We was all very excited. Fanals, obviously, we was all excited after the under-23s tournament. Maybe we signed good players, but not necessarily the right players. Is that a fair point, Paul?
Yeah, and I don't even know. I mean, like you say, the likes of Haller, I still say he's a good player. He is a good player. Second top goal scorer. Started the season really, really well. Shame he got injured sort of on return, or maybe not, because obviously it meant Antonio stepped up. Like you say, mate, Fornals has been brilliant. Fornals gets so much stick off West Ham fans, and I don't get it.
I like him.
The amount of work he does. He's playing out of position.
I disagree for the first time.
He's playing out of position. He gets up and down the pitch. He don't stop running.
I like him.
I think he's really good. And I think if he moves into that Nobles playing the number 10, if he moves into that number 10 role next season, I think you'll see more of him. That's because he's playing on the left side. He's basically playing as an auxiliary left back. But he puts the work in. Good signing. Obviously, Roberto disaster.
Let too many strikers go as well. Hernandez, Carroll.
I think that's what done. Perez. That the Perez obviously we let go. I don't think we should have done. That was a mistake. But I think more was the fact that we sold Hernandez and we sold Obiang and we didn't replace him. Yeah. That for me, that's the big thing. And from the sounds at the time, from Pellegrini's interviews, it sounds like he was under the impression, especially he definitely 100% said, if we sell Obiang, we'll replace him. And then obviously Hernandez went after the window was shut. I don't know what the thinking was there. Absolutely insane. And then we signed a Jetty and he hasn't even played.
Yeah, apparently linked away now. He's turned down the move now, hasn't he? Apparently he's turned down the move. I heard that on X's podcast this morning. Apparently he's turned down the move, apparently. But yeah, it's been a difficult season. Obviously, one of the highlights, and we'll probably discuss it a bit more in moments of the season, and nearly saved Pellegrini's job potentially, was the David Martin at Chelsea. Do you think Pellegrini would have hung around a bit longer if... So I was just laughing because of the noise.
What is that noise? Lee, what are you doing?
I'm just saying.
But yeah, if David Martin would have come in earlier, do you feel that may have saved Pellegrini's job?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I think, and the thing is as well. I again, we'll probably talk about this in a little bit more, but I don't think we'd be any worse off if we'd have kept Pellegrini on. I don't think we would have finished any lower. I don't think we would have got less points than if Pellegrini had stayed.
I think what Moyes had as well is Pellegrini had Antonio injury as well, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So Antonio came back sort of at the right time as well. And, and he did score some important goals for us in the end. But, I think Pellegrini sort of lost it in the end. Huh?
Yeah. Lee, sank down on your mic, mate. It's just making some weird noises.
It's just there. Look.
It's all right. It's a bit crackling. So David Moyes come in. Lee, at the time, how did you feel?
Deflated, disappointed. But then, going back to what you're saying about Pellegrini, I think it's not just the goalkeeper issue. I've said this a million times before, and I'll say it again. What was the first thing Guardiola did when he replaced him at City? I know we're not the same size. You've both, so I'm assuming you're still there. There we go. He replaced the fullbacks. We are so weak in the fullback area. How many of our goals, if you compare the mistakes that Roberto made to the mistakes that our fullbacks have made this season, I don't think it's comparable. I haven't got the figures, but I'd say there's a lot more errors leading to goals coming from the fullback areas than the goalkeepers this season. They are just so weak. And it must be a blind spot Pellegrini's who maybe doesn't think the position matters. I mean, defensively, we're poor throughout, but especially fullbacks. So David Martin coming in, it was a nice, very story, but and I don't want to sort of poop on him, but he he made the mistake that led to Sheffield United scoring the winner against us. We do this season because it's been so bad. What's so funny?
It's just the noises.
Might be better on your phone. Come back in on your phone.
I literally can't hear anything.
Come back in on your phone.
Hang on, let me take the headphones.
Yeah, come back in on your phone.
And that's why Lee's not been on the show for 2 years.
I'm living in a cave. Got no signal or nothing. I've gone back to the Stone Ages.
Yeah. So what about you, Paul? With Moyes, obviously
disappointing, isn't it? And we obviously spoke about it loads on the channel. When Moyes was let go last time, I think he probably deserved to be kept on last time, but the board decided no, he's not the man to take us forward. He's not good enough. Thanks very much. See you later. And then to go back to him, it's just a complete failure. It's just a complete, if he's been deemed not good enough 18 months ago, why is he good enough now? And people are going to argue, but he kept us up. He saved us. He kept us up. Did he? Really? Yeah, since the restart, we've had a good run of results. But
I think you can give him credit for, and we'll move on to January. I think you've got to give him credit for the Bowen. There we go. Lee's back now. Yeah, sorry, Lee. We're just talking about, so Moyes come in and Paul was just saying about did Moyes do a good job, etc. I think I've got to give him credit for the Bowen and Souček signing now. And I think they were crucial to the turnaround of our season.
Yeah, I agree. Did he pick those players?
I think Bowen was definitely his pick.
And fair play. And again, many times I've said in the last weeks, I would like to see Moyes. I think Moyes would make a really good director of football. Picking up players from the Championship, younger, hungry players. But I just don't rate him as a manager. And again, I know I can see in the comments already, people will say, but he kept us up. I think we stayed up in spite of him rather than because of him.
Two really hard circumstances though, Lee. No, he's come in twice, saved us twice in ridiculously hard circumstances. The first one, obviously a Bilic team that was, still suffering from Payet hangover. And then this season, obviously, the lockdown, not his team again. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but he didn't come in after the lockdown.
No. I know that. But you've got to give credit. So if you could consider it a mini pre-season before lockdown, and the results after lockdown, you've got to give him credit for.
The results after lockdown have been good. I admit that. Yeah, they've been good. But
performances haven't.
The performances haven't been great, his record is still one of the worst West Ham managers
and I agree with
of all time.
But when you're down there, does a performance matter?
For this little period, 3 points is all that mattered. I think. But going forward,
has he done a good job for you then, Lee?
He's kept us up. I don't say he's done a good job. He's done his job.
Yeah,
I don't think he's done it well. But
he's the neutral guy. I'm being the neutral one in this. But
I don't think he's done his job well. I think he's just done his job.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I agree with that. I would say, yeah, okay. I think he's done a good job, not a great job. He's kept us up, which is, we have to thank him for that. If the two signings of Souček and Bowen were his, brilliant signings. Give him a window. Apparently, we've got no money, so God knows who we're going to sign. But yeah, there's definitely question marks over him. And for me, my question marks are: doesn't like a substitution. His in-game management is very poor, and sometimes his setup is wrong. What about you guys?
So the substitution thing is a fair point, but when you look at the bench, it's not exactly filled with quality, is it?
Yeah.
It's like, what, £140 million was on our bench going in towards the end of the season?
And Anderson, if he never plays in a West Ham shirt again, I'd be thrilled.
Well,
the guy's a waste of space.
We've said that. He's already checked out. He doesn't want to be here. Yeah. But this is what we were saying, Lee. Obviously, where you wasn't on, but what we were saying during these games, and we were making a point of the players that were on the bench weren't there. They might not come on to change the game, but they would have at least come on to give the players that were playing a rest.
So the one and I know the history of injuries and stuff. Jack Wilshere is the one for me. I would have liked to have seen him because he's got the quality. We know he's got the quality. I would have liked to have seen him, and he was sat there looking just bored. He was hardly warming up. He came on in 2 games, I think. I would have liked to have seen him given a shout from the bench. But otherwise, I mean, the options are just...
Wilshere not used. Ajeti, who knows how good he is or not. He hasn't had a chance. The likes of the youngsters, likes of Holland, never got a chance. Like Silva,
yeah.
And like I say, and we said at the time, even if these players weren't going to come on and change the game, if we're already winning, bring them on. Bring them on. Give the players a rest. When you're running Antonio into the ground, and Antonio's been really good, but Moyes has got so lucky. All it would have taken was his hamstring to ping.
Yeah.
and that's it. Do you know what I mean? He had
go on, sorry.
He had no protection at all, Antonio, from his manager, and I think he was poor, really poor.
Antonio's a funny one. I know we're going to come on, I think, in a minute to talk about individuals, but he is that bad but that good at exactly the same time. He's a terrible footballer.
Unpredictable.
Not terrible. That's unfair. Unfair is terrible. But how can one player be that good and that bad at the same time?
Well, you know what it is? It's one of those that he's so bad technically sometimes. I don't think a fullback knows what he's going to do. I think that there's a famous stat. I think it's Ashley Cole said it before. He goes, he'd much rather come up against like a Messi, a Ronaldo, because he more or less knows their body shape. Technically, they're going to perform it to the best of their ability. Where when he used to come up against someone who was just a machine, like a bossy guy, it was actually harder to play against someone like that.
I think that's a good point, mate. Yeah, and I 100% agree. Antonio technically is absolutely woeful. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. The
last game.
Yeah, I was going to say, mate, the last game, that chance he had at the beginning, and this is why everyone calling for him to be our striker next year are absolute lunatics. Antonio is not a striker. He will never be a striker. I don't care how many goals he scored. If you can't finish chances like that, and the man's 30 years old, so he's not going to improve now. Do you know what I mean? If you can't finish chances like that, you'll never be an actual finisher. You'll never be a striker. His technique is appalling. I will say, though, I think his movement has improved playing up front. I think he's getting into positions better than he did before.
When he's confident, he will score, like a one. If he gets 5 chances a game, he will score one of them. When he gets 5 chances.
And I was saying at the time, even against Norwich, when he scored 4 goals. Like the chance he had where was it his 3rd goal? Was it the
hat-trick goal? Yeah.
Where he kicked it at the keeper and he just got so lucky it landed on his head. Shocking technically, but credit to him. He come out, banged in the goals that we needed to stay up. So all credit to him for that. I don't want to sound like I'm bashing him too much. All credit to him for that.
Yeah. Right. So season in general, before we go into individual players, don't think we're missing bits out, guys, if you're watching along, because we're going to go into individual players now. So season in general, just terms of the team, where we finished, what do you give it? Let's do it as old school, like GCSE grades. I'm going to give it an E, I think. An E. When my optimism was we're probably going to try and go for a B+, A- season. And I was down E. What about you?
Yeah, I think considering at the start of the season, we did start well. You're looking up, you're thinking about European places, and then to just collapse the way we did. Yeah, really poor. He's probably fair. It's probably fair, to be honest.
What about you, Lee? An E as well?
Yeah, at most.
Let us know in the chat what you guys think. Right, individual players now. Let's start with the bad ones first, because the good ones is something nice to talk about. Let's talk about them.
And it won't take very long.
Yeah,
to do the good ones.
So worst, we've discussed him already. Roberto, little comment on him. Worst goalkeeper I've ever seen. I said the only one close. Leo will remember the season.
I know you're going to say. Sassuilic. Yeah.
Yeah. When he scored conceded 4 against Everton. that's the closest probably that I can compare to bad goalkeepers. This guy was awful, punched into his own net, for God's sake. Any comments on Roberto before I move on very, very quickly?
It's all been said, hasn't it?
He's going to win a Champions League next year with Atletico Madrid.
Probably will, mate. On that, though, very quickly, do you think we would have had a realistic chance of keeping Adrian in hindsight? And was that a bad decision?
Don't get me started on that, Chancellor. I mean, seriously, he's gone there and won a league title, and every game he played, he mucked up. He was at fault for them getting knocked out of the Champions League. It was dreadful against Atletico Madrid. 2 of the goals were his fault. He made mistakes in league games. Well, no, if you answer that question. but don't get me started on him, that Chancellor. Honestly.
Is there anyone else in the goalkeeper position you want to have a negative view on?
Yeah, Fabianski.
Okay, yeah. And I think it's fair enough. I do, mate. I did a goalkeeper review. Listen, Lucas last year was unbelievable. And Lucas this year, at points, he had his moments. He was injured. But there are question marks there. There's starting to be a few. And Lee, go on, mate. Off you go.
Well, the 2 issues to think about. One, his age. He's not getting any younger. I personally think he's on the decline as a footballer. When a footballer has passed their peak, and I think he's now on the way down as a footballer. Some of the goals that he has let in this season have been poor. The Liverpool match alone stands out. Grealish on Sunday, that was poor. But my biggest issue with him, now I don't want to be too unfair because I don't know if this is coming from the manager, is his distribution. It's really poor. Sometimes when we've only got Antonio up front, and again, I don't know if this is Moyes and the coaching staff telling him to do it, but just relentlessly every single time when we played against Burnley, for crying out loud, Burnley, and he's trying to throw a ball up with their 2 centre halves every single time. And one, he has too much of the ball because our centre halves, their first thought every time is let's pass it back instead of forward. And you could say that about a certain midfielder as well, a couple of midfielders. So again, that's not fair. But I question his distribution. I question his some of his shot stopping this season. What I would say is that decision making is still quite good. I think when he comes across his 99 times out of 100, you feel quite confident when he's coming. But my worry is he's on the decline as a goalkeeper, and more mistakes will start to slip in over this next season.
If you look at those goalkeepers as well, like Martin won't play for us, Randolph's 34, Fabianski's 34. It is an area we need to look at. Maybe we can get another year out of Fabianski, but I don't know whether you're going to take the chance on Trot or you're going to bring someone in. I don't know. It's definitely an area we've got to look at. I totally agree with that, mate. Totally agree. Okay, defenders. Bad ones, remember? I'll throw a name out straight away. Fredericks. Awful.
Awful. What an awful player.
It's awful.
Honestly.
There was a really good point in there was a really good comment that I want to put up actually. There we go. That's the comment. Fredericks is Champions League pace, League One technical ability, defensive reading of the game.
Do you know what? And again, something because I've said this for a year and a half. So this is when Pellegrini was there. So I'm not saying it can't be 2 managers. He doesn't get forward. When he does, he hardly crosses it. But to be fair to him, when he puts a cross in, they're half decent. Like when he actually gets to the byline, but amount of times he just passes it. He gets to the byline and just doesn't swing it in. Even when Haller's in there, Haller and Antonio are in there, his pace gets him out of a lot of trouble. But technically bad, defensively bad, positionally bad. I haven't not got. No. Do you know? I went through this little phase during the first few games of lockdown. He's commenting on the official West Ham Facebook when they post the team, and I was saying, God. Put a tin hat on, seriously. You slag off Fredericks and Cresswell and others, and bloody hell. You get all sorts of abuse being thrown left, right, and centre. But I don't understand why people don't see it. He's terrible.
What about Cresswell?
Terrible.
Paul?
Yeah. Both obviously, fullbacks is a massive problem for us. Massive issue positionally for us. Cresswell, really poor. He's had a couple of good games this season. But a couple of good games ain't good enough. Joey O'Brien was better than Fredericks. He probably was. I don't think that's a controversial statement. Cresswell, poor. He's had a couple of good games, and he looked better after the restart, I think he started growing into games a little bit, but he's not the answer. Masuaku.
What's this? What's this all the time? With his hand in the air. Cresswell.
He's channeling Matt Jarvis.
What's this? What's this?
The only thing, he has done a season, but he did start quite well, didn't he? He started the season quite well.
He scored a goal.
Most of the team did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, he's not good enough. Masuaku, I think, will go on to make a really, really good winger somewhere. But he's not. Masuaku's not a fullback. Fredericks, poor. Zabaleta, too old.
Yeah. We won't do the good ones. Because
what I would say, and people do challenge me. I think, and I'm slowly going through every team in the league. We have the worst fullbacks in the Premier League. Bar none. But
the positive ones, actually, let's just do it like that. So the positive ones for fullbacks, Ben Johnson. There's a player there, no?
There's a player
looks like it. I think he's very. Exactly. I think defensively he's very good. His positioning is very good. His intelligence is very good, but his passing's really bad. But he can work on that. You can work on your passing. That's something he'll get better at.
Yeah, that will come. Decision making will come.
Yeah, I don't think he's got much pace either. He doesn't seem the quickest, but I think his positioning is good enough.
He did really well against Rashford the other night.
I think his positioning is good enough. It will get him out of trouble.
So
I can't remember what game. I think it was the United game. Gary Neville was full of praise for him. Yeah. And if you like Gary Neville, that's one of the best fullbacks his country's produced in the last 20 years. He was absolutely full of praise for him. He's built like a centre half. You look at him. You look at his build.
Yeah. What about last one on the fullbacks then? Jeremy, not signed for a club yet. Where do you stand in terms of him and Johnson? Like, who was better? And listen, I'm not sulking bitterly here, but I think Johnson is a better player.
Johnson is by far the better defensive player. By far, I think Ngakia is better going forward. But again, like I say, Johnson can work on that side of his game. He can work on his distribution. He can work on his passing. That will come. And I think long term, and I don't think this is a secret in the club, behind the scenes at West Ham, all the coaches rated Johnson far higher than Ngakia anyway. I don't think that's a surprise. Yeah, there you go. Proper defensive right back. I think he's very, very good defensively. He does read the game really well. He needs to improve his passing, but he'll get that. That will come.
What about you, Leon Ngakia? I'll be 2 seconds. What about you, Leon?
Yeah, time will tell, won't it? Time will tell whether what he turns out like. But I'm not that disappointed that he's gone.
No, it's weird. I'm surprised that he hasn't rocked up at another club yet, because the way that he left, you would have had to assume that he had a deal lined up.
Would you have him back? I wouldn't personally.
I don't really see the point. To be honest, if we've got Johnson as a youngster coming through, we do need to sign another right back. I think
left back's essential.
Yeah, we probably need to sign 2 left backs.
Yeah,
and a right back. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Centre backs then. Biggest disappointment for me, Fabian Balbuena. What happened to the guy? What happened to him? This guy was immense last year. Commanding in the air. He looked like, I don't know, is it fair to say a natural replacement to James Collins at the time last year? What happened? That Bournemouth game I went with you, Lee. How many times did the geezer give the ball away and kick it out of play? What about you guys, Balbuena?
It's a problem with all of our defenders. It's a problem with all of the defenders, that their distribution is poor, their passing is poor. I mean, that's fair to say across the board. But he came back late from Paraguay. He didn't have a pre-season. Done it. I'm not giving excuses, but he's been poor when he's played. But he hasn't had a run of games either, I'd say.
Yeah, no.
It was the first game of the season. He got rushed back. Pellegrini threw him in against City, the 5-0. And I think that absolutely did his confidence. He'd only been back that week. He had no pre-season. He was thrown in. And we lost 5-0.
Does he stay for you? Has he got a future at the club?
I think so. I think so. Sorry, I don't think we and this season has been such a mad season. Apart from players that are clearly not good enough. Players that have done well and then this season they haven't performed as we know they can, such as Balbuena, I think it'd be silly to shut them off straight away unless there's an immediate improvement ready to come in. And the fact that we haven't got any money suggests there probably ain't.
Reed is not going to be there, is he? Do you know what I mean? So it literally is Bonner and Diop. That's it, isn't it? That is it. That leads quite nicely on to Diop. Another one, disappointing season for me. But as you always say, Paul, we do need to remember how old he is. We do need to remember. What about you, Lee?
So Bonner, you got a bit of a
Diop. Ones, yeah. So Diop.
I can't stand distribution. He's too quick to go back to the keeper too much. But he had a first season, not good, but he had a decent first season. He was good this year, benefit of the doubt. But that said, it's worth $2 million from my band. Not that I'm the chairman.
Yeah, but, you're saying just breaking up slightly, mate, but that's fine. What about you, Paul, with Diop? Obviously, like I say, you say about.
Yeah, I say it all the time. He's not had his best season this year, but he hasn't. I don't think he's looked terrible. I don't think in any game I've looked at him and thought he's been absolutely shocking. I don't think
he can't win a header. How tall he is, he never wins a header.
No, but he's always even when everyone was singing his praises about how good he was, he couldn't win headers. So that is definitely something he needs to improve on. But again, he's very young. I think he's good at stepping out the defence and putting a foot in. And I do think he'll come good. I do think he'll come good.
Yeah. What about last centre back, Bonner, mate. So this is positive now. Was he your hammer of the year, guys? He was my vote. He was mine. What about you?
I voted for him. Yeah. I think he was robbed. To be honest, mate, I'm not surprised that Rice won.
We'll go into Declan in a minute, but
yeah, I'm not surprised he won. It was going to be him or Antonio, but I think Bonner was robbed. I think probably our most consistent player this year. Really, really stepped up when he come back in. Yeah. Just solid, just absolutely solid. By far, I think for so many games he was the best player on the pitch.
He's still very pacey as well.
Yeah.
For a centre back, and he's got a bit of pace about him still.
And he's very good in the air. Bonner, very good in the air.
Oggy, for you, Lee. Any little comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, he got my vote for hammer of the year.
Cool.
Yeah, he got my vote. I thought he would have won it, but Rice had a good season as well.
Yeah. Is there anyone I'm missing? Defensively? No. Right. So midfielders. We'll start with the CDM position. Carlos Sanchez.
He even played for us, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, he's gone now. Thank God. He's shocking. Did he play? Did he play any games this season? Did he play?
Probably came on as a sub.
Yeah. Remember. But yeah, poor midfielders then. Lanzini, mate, your favourite. I think he's gone. Mate. I think he's gone. Mentally gone.
I don't think he's mentally gone, mate. I don't think he's. It hurts me to say it because Lanzini is my favourite West Ham player. I think he's a fantastic player, and before his injury, he was fantastic. He's not the same player, but I don't think he's checked out like Anderson has. Felipe Anderson's gone. He doesn't want to be here. I don't think that's true for Lanzini, and he's been getting a lot of stick, Lanzini. But even in the Villa game, I think the best attack we had was a little bit on the edge of the box between Lanzini and Allaire when Lanzini got clipped and won the free kick. He's still got that ability to be dangerous in and around the box. If he goes,
you ain't gonna get for him anyway.
If he goes, I wouldn't be too gutted. But at the same time, I wouldn't be gutted at all if he stays. I think if he stays and he has a proper full season, a proper pre-season, and we can see if he's still got it in him to be a good player, I think it'd be a shame to just sort of throw him away. But I don't agree. I don't think he's checked out. I don't think he's his brains elsewhere. I think he's still trying. He's getting a lot of stick. I don't think it's quite fair.
For you, Lee Lanzini?
Hello.
Connection issues, but I think it's. I mean, if you were to leave,
I'll tell you what. If you want, cut your camera off and just do audio. If you want, that might help your connection.
Is that any better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Lanzini.
There's like a 20-second delay between me asking and you answering.
Ad break.
Go on. See if I can fix it.
I have to go back on the laptop a minute. Yeah, all right. We'll let Lee sort himself out. I'll just remove you for a minute, Lee, and sort yourself out for a minute. Yeah, so Lanzini, like I say, fair enough. Let's move on midfielders wise. Okay, Mark Noble, mate. Disappointment or positive?
It's weird actually. I think before lockdown, before the break, he was really poor. And he was getting slated every week. He was being played when he shouldn't have been being played. He was coming at himself and saying the team shouldn't be relying on me at this age. And he was absolutely right. And the games were passing him by. Everything he was doing was backwards, sideways, just not good at all. And it was a shame to see, to be honest. But then I think since the restart, he's been moved forward. He's playing higher up the pitch. And it's not a position I want to see Mark Noble in. Mark Noble's not a number 10, but he's looked a lot better, I think, since the restart. He's looked a lot better playing a bit further forward than he has at the start of the season. So,
Mark Noble,
massive for him
last season next year?
I think so, yeah. I think so. I think it's his last season next year. I think he'll retire. It's interesting. I don't know if you saw the interview. I can't remember who interviewed him, but it was on Sky. And they asked him about staying at the club and being a manager or a coach. And he said, no, he wouldn't want to do it. Because he'd, for the sounds of things, he wants to just step away from the game and sort of enjoy himself, really. I don't know whether that'll happen or not, but I think next season will be his last season. I hope he does stick around at the club. And it's good to see him improve after the restart, I think. What about you?
I'm one of the most conflicting people with Mark Noble in terms of, West Ham YouTubers, and I've always not ever been his biggest fan. I can admit he has moments where he's fantastic and he has moments where he's god awful. I do think it should be his last year this year. I really do. Yeah, like I say, hopefully he's not in the team if he plays more than 20 games. I think that'd be 20 games too many next year. What about you, Luke? Mark Noble?
There you go. Thanks, Kent Ammers. Jamie Redknapp did the interview. There you go.
What was that for?
For the interview about him being a manager or coach.
Lee, are you there? No. Okay.
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mark Noble, Lee. 1 minute. Mark Noble, Lee. Yes, no.
I'm really glad Lee came back this week.
I'll tell you what, Lee, I'll talk to you through the private chat. If you can see the private chat, I'll talk to you through there, and then maybe you can answer that way. If not, might have to leave it for another time. Other midfielders, Thomas Souček, massive positive. He looks like, if we are to keep a man, we'll talk about in a minute. Him and Rice together are going to be a real spine for us. Goal scoring threat. So clever as well in terms of when he goes forward, when he drops back. Souček for you, mate.
Brilliant player. Brilliant player. He'll probably be the best signing we make this summer, to be honest. Yeah, fantastic. When we signed him, he came in with a reputation of scoring goals, and he's shown it. You know, fantastic. Pops up in really dangerous areas. Really good movement. Brilliant from set plays, from corners and that kind of thing. You always say it yourself, mate. He's very sort of Fellaini like.
Nuisance. Nuisance.
Sorry.
Nuisance. Absolute nuisance.
Yeah. Brilliant. And like our good friend Chris Akabusi mentioned, the fact that he's now getting forward and getting into these positions is giving defenders something to think about for the other players, and it's freeing up the likes of your Antonios to go and score the goals, which has been great to see.
I don't know what's happening to Lee, but so check, massive positive. Trying to think, go through the team here. Fornals, I like the guy. The guy. I do. You know, he's a bit. I keep using the same phrase, but he's a bit Marmite. But I like him. I really like him.
I do as well, mate. You know, spoke a little bit about him earlier, and I really like Fornals, and I think he's going to be a fantastic little player. I really do. I think he's being massively misused at the moment. He's playing on the left. He's playing far too deep. He's really doing a lot of covering for Cresswell. But he's putting the work in. He's putting the yards in. He's doing the work defensively. And I think he's been brilliant for us. I really do. I think he's been brilliant. Hopefully...
Very young, mate, as well. Very young.
Yeah. Hopefully next year he moves into the middle of the pitch. I would take him into that number 10 role. You know, move Noble out. And if we're talking about spine of the team, for me, it's got to be Rice, Souček, and then Fornals in front of them. That's where I would go going forward, and that's what I would like to see next season. I think if Moyes continues playing him on the left, he's completely ruining him and wasting him as a player.
He hasn't got the pace to play on the wing. Lee, are you there? No.
I can hear you a lot better now, but I don't think it's still perfect.
Okay.
Well, we can hear you.
We were talking about Fornals, Lee. Positive, negative for you? For us, we both agreed it's a positive, but what about for you?
If it works, I reserve. I'm just disappointed I've missed a chance to slag off Noble.
You can have a go at Mark if you want.
Do you know I saw an article that said, Mr. Loyalty, he's been at West Ham for all these years. No one else will have him. Stolen a Premiership career.
Oh, God. Comes back and really pokes the flames in. Oh, God. So Mark last
Mr. West Ham, right.
So Mark's last season for you, Lee?
I hope so. He's never going to leave, is he? He's never going to leave. Let's be fair. The reason he hasn't left is because no one else would take him. He's a championship player at best.
That's rubbish. That's rubbish, Lee. That's nonsense. Don't get me wrong. Nobes is past it now, and he can't be. He's not. He shouldn't be playing in the Premier League week in, week out. But to write him off like that and call him a championship player at best is a joke. Come on.
Now,
and I know you're doing this just to poke me.
No. Now he is a championship player at best. On current where he is now. Now,
okay. Yeah. And I don't think he would disagree with you himself.
No, he said the words he said after. You know, we lost to West Brom in the cup. He came out and said we shouldn't still be relying on me. That was his words.
Yeah, exactly.
He said that. So okay, he's had a few. When he first came on the scene, the problem I've always had with Noble is that when he first came on the scene, he was an attacking midfielder, and he's kind of been pushed back into that position now by Moyes. But he was playing as a defensive midfielder, and he just wasn't good enough for that position, barring a couple of really standout seasons. And there were some. The last year at Upton Park, should have played for England that year. He was fantastic. There's been a few others when he was next to Scotty Parker as well. I mean, the two of them worked really well together. That's because Parker was there and he was carrying the whole team, to be frank. Anyway, I digress. I don't think he would have had a Premier League career at a 10-year Premier League career at another club.
So I agree with what you're saying. Funny enough, I was talking to mate Bowen about Noble, and now when he started, he was more attacking and he'd get forward and he'd be banging shots at the edge of the box. And then someone obviously convinced him that he could play that PLO deep sitting role and spraying balls around, and it never really suited him. But how many managers has Mark Noble played under?
All of them.
Every single one of them has picked him.
Yeah, I take it. I take the point. I do.
So, I think you're being very harsh on Mark, to be honestly.
But
yes, Lee is the Piers Morgan. Yeah. He just throws things out there and then watches what happens.
Throws bombs out there.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Being compared to him, I never want to come back on here again. Jesus.
Just before we move on to other midfielders, Lee, you missed out because obviously you was having your technical issues there. Just one sentence on Fornals and one sentence on Souček for us, please.
Fornals, I hear everything Paul has said. I've been frustrated with him at times this season, but I get what you're saying about not playing in position, and I reserve judgment till he's had a second year in the Premiership. Souček has been brilliant. He set a very high standard, and to carry that on will be a big challenge in the second year.
Yeah,
that was quite nice for me, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've dreaded what you're going to say about the next bloke. You'll probably get banned for a channel now. So Declan, listen, for me, not one performance.
Declan Carlos.
Yeah, not one performance under 8 out of 10 for me all year. You might disagree, I don't know, but for me, every single game, 8 out of 10. I think he carried the team at times. I know we lost a lot of games this year, but he's been excellent. Has he played his last game for us? Who knows? But I don't think you can say much more than just fantastic, absolutely fantastic this season.
Do you know, at the start of the season, I was pushing really hard. Again, not that I have any say in the team, but I was pushing really hard against people that would listen to me that he should be reverted to a centre-half because I didn't think he was good enough to play central midfield. I think he's improved massively this season in that position. His passing has got better. During the last game, I was making comments about him all of a sudden wanting to shoot, which I guess ain't a bad thing, but know your limits, mate. No, he's been fantastic. Already got 7 odd caps for England at the age of 21, 22. He's been brilliant, and long may it continue.
I think since Souček came into the team, it's really freed him up.
Yeah.
Because he has got that. He's a lot quicker than he looks. He really is. When he picks the ball up and he drives through the midfield at teams, I think he catches a lot of teams by surprise. Because he has got that in him. He's got that ability in him. I'm not saying, well, maybe I'm saying he's as good. He reminds me of a younger Yaya Toure. He really does. I really think he's got it in him.
That's quite a compliment.
It is quite a compliment.
There's a bit of I'm gonna sound a bit optimistic now. There's a bit of Patrick Vieira actually for me. That tall, gangly sort of style. It's more that sort of thing.
I just think the way that he can pick the ball up and drive, he seems to have he's really good at bringing the ball out, bringing the ball forward. And I think that, like I say, having Souček next to him has sort of took the shackles off a bit and allowed him that freedom. And it was great to see him, banging probably West Ham's goal of the season. Yes, I think it went to his head. And as Lee says, he needs to sort of calm down a little bit, or he needs to at least learn to not lean back when he's going to shoot. But yeah, I think it's been brilliant. His development this season has been phenomenal.
Does he stay? I honestly don't think he will stay. I really don't think he's going to stay. What about you, Lee?
I mean, assuming that I think he'll stay another year, and assuming that Noble won't play every week next season, I think we have to assume that his legs won't allow him to. I think Noble will become club captain, and Rice will become the man on the pitch that has the armband, and maybe something like that may be enough to get him to stay. You never know.
Here's a question for you guys, just before we move on. Where does he rank in terms of youth players you've seen come through in your lifetime? Remember, anyone watching the show, me, Paul and Lee are 35. So for youth, you can go back to Frank and Rio. Okay,
realistically, if you look at Frank Lampard...
Time at West Ham.
Well...
Not what they went on to achieve.
If you're not talking about what they went on to achieve, you'd probably put him on the same kind. I would put him on the same kind of level as Rio. I'll put him on the same kind of level as Rio.
Player then that's come through. Joe. Joe's
my favourite player that's ever come through West Ham. Yeah, incredible player.
Michael Carrick
for me.
Yeah. I love Joey Cole. I was all about that. Little technical players, tricks for days. Amazing to watch. I loved it. I love seeing Joe come through. Rio was, for his age, such a and you've got to remember as well, back when Rio came through, central defenders weren't as good on the ball as they are today. So when Rio came through, that was just something that made him stand out. He was so good on the ball.
If you think of the generation in between that as well, I'm talking Tompkins, Jack Collins and Mark Noble himself. He's above that level, isn't he? He's above that level to come through. And I like Jack, and I like Stanislas and that sort of era, Zabon Hines.
Yeah, none of those players you could say, obviously Collison was had his injuries and stuff, but none of those players you could say would have come through and could have gone on to be world class.
Yeah.
But Rice, 100%, can go on to be world class.
Midfielders, let's carry on. Bobby Snodgrass, there's one. Bobby Snodgrass, how well was his season been? I think Bobby Snodgrass started really well, to be honest. What about you, Lee? Lee?
Sorry, say again. It went Doolally again.
Bobby Snodgrass.
Yeah.
I thought he played
again.
All right.
Doesn't it sound? I know something about an 8-year-old bloke there when I went, yeah. He's it says a lot about the investment, not the investment, but the players that have been brought in that we're still so reliant on people like Snodgrass and Antonio. And when he wasn't injured, he was a key part of the team and played well when he was in the team. Great left foot, as we all know, great on corners, scores goals. Again, it just ages against him. Why do we get these players when they're past or at peak or about to leave peak?
Role at the club next year.
Mm-hmm.
Has he got a role at the club next year, Bobby Snodgrass?
Definitely.
I think he's got a role on the sidelines. He's got a role off the bench. He's not a player that we should be relying on. He's not a player that, for me, should be starting week in, week out. I do like Robert Snodgrass. I like him, and he's done really well for us. But he's not the type of player. He's not the sort of player that you want to be thinking, he's going to move us on to the next level. Obviously, now we've got Bowen, who's basically a better version of Robert Snodgrass. So,
I won't. There's no point talking about Jack. He didn't play enough for me to even be in this conversation. Is there any midfielders I'm missing out, guys? Just correct me if I'm missing out any Noble, Rice.
Have you mentioned the brief appearances of I can't remember his name, Sanchez?
Yes, that's really your technical issues. Terrible player, absolutely awful. And if you're talking about people who stole a career, mate, that's one of them. 75 grand a week he's apparently on at West Ham.
So if you can get it, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll move on to the forward E area. We'll start with the wingers area. I'll throw a name out first. Yarmolenko, guys.
Frustrating.
I've always liked him. He's slow, yes. He's injury prone, yes. But when he plays, he scores or assists. Technically, fantastic. There is a place for him, for me, still in the team next year if he can stay fit. What about you guys?
When he started the season really well, came out from his injury, had a really good start to the season, he was then diabolical for a few weeks. Just before he picked up that injury, he was dreadful. Being at the games, people were... he was getting cheered off the pitch when he went off as a sub during those sort of 3-4 games before he picked up that injury. I think it was against I can't remember who he got the injury against. He scored against Man United, didn't anyway, it doesn't matter. But he comes back and he's a good impact sub.
He shoots. It's the classic line, don't shoot, you don't score. He shoots.
Yeah, that's it. The fact that he does that, he's not afraid to pull the trigger. He's always looking to get into an area where he can shoot. He is a weird one. Same as you, Luke. I really like Yarmolenko. I think he's a really, really good player. Is he good enough? Can he be a starter for us? I don't think so. I don't think so.
He's not a starter, mate, but I think there's a place for an impact sub.
But can you afford to have someone on, what's he on, like 120 grand a week?
I think he's 145.
145 grand a week to be an impact sub. We're not a big enough club for that.
Yeah, I suppose.
I have a West Ham playing people 145 grand a week. It's ridiculous.
That's the only reason people sign, though. Let's move on to probably one we're all going to agree on here, mate. Felipe Anderson. Listen, he was my favourite player. We talk about Paul with Lanzini. He was mine, and I was giving him a lot of time. I was like, okay, it's all right. It'll come. That Bournemouth game, I went with you, Lee, when he got his first goal of the season. I thought he might kick on. He's gone. He's gone for me. Like, no, I can't defend him anymore.
Doesn't look interested.
Get him out the door as soon as possible. You guys?
You know, you look at his, like, it's weird because he's made an effort. You follow him on Instagram. He has English lessons quite often. So he's obviously made an effort to sort of become immersed in the culture and living in London and learning the language. But on the pitch, you can count the good performances on, like, let's be fair, two hands. They've been few and far between in 2 years.
Last
season, for me,
good.
For me, I think obviously the ability's there. His sort of form did drop off a bit, and then I think when Moyes came in, I don't know whether something's gone on between Moyes and Anderson, but to me, I don't think he respects Moyes at all. I don't think he's got any respect at all for the manager, and the fact that there's no fans in the stadium now to get on his back and to give him stick, I don't think he cares. You know, you can see it since the restart. Every time he's been brought on, he doesn't want to be on the pitch. When he does come on, he just walks around. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. And yeah, 100% time for him to go. Like I say, undoubtedly the man's got ability, but I don't think he respects the manager at all. He doesn't want to. Yeah, he doesn't want to play. So, see you later.
Yeah, definitely. There's no positive for me for him this season either. Let's think next. Go on. We'll go Jared Bowen. Let's talk for a positive for a little while. What a player we've got there. You know, we finally, we took a gamble on a good championship player. So good. Work rate is incredible work rate. He's really doggy as well on the ball. And someone made a really good comparison, for him. Craig Bellamy. There's definitely a Bellamy vibe about him. Obviously, he needs to get some goals in his game for us. But big fan. Lee, I've not had your
opinion. If he can add a few more goals. The last game before the lockdown, Arsenal, I went to that in the Emirates, and he was the best player on the pitch by a million miles. We lost 1-0, but he was the best player on the pitch by a mile. And I don't quite understand why he's always taken off. That's the thing I'm a bit confused with.
I think just because he runs still chasing the game. Ground.
Yeah, because he runs his socks off. Yeah. The
other thing he's got going for him is young with a receding hairline. So that's good.
Yeah, but brilliant. Top signing. Really, really good. And something I would like to see next year is, him on one side and Grady Diagano on the other side. I think could be quite exciting now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got pace, like you say, don't stop running. It's interesting. It just shows 15 goals he scored in the Championship before he came to us this season. It just shows the difference in the level between the Championship and the Premier League.
So that next season, I think he'll go and get 2s and 3s in a row. Then he'll go quiet for a few games. Then he'll go and get 2 and 3. I think that's just
typical. He's never going to get them kind of numbers for West Ham. Our strikers don't even get those kind of numbers at West Ham. Yeah. So, if he pops up with sort of 6-7 goals a season, you'd say he's done really well.
What about you, Lee?
Yeah, no, that'd be a fantastic return. Any midfielder that gets to 10 goals outside the top 4 is that's a good return. That's an excellent return.
On Grady, for you, mate, is it someone you want to see in the first starting line?
I felt I didn't... When he only broke through last season, so again, it's hard to give too much of a judgment, but wasn't entirely convinced by him. But he's obviously gone away. He's done really well at West Brom under Bilic. So clean slate when he comes back, and let's hope he continues that form.
Yeah, quite excited about having him back. If he stays, he's another one. Apparently, he could be one out the door. Not that I think it's more to raise funds than because we keep getting linked with that Eze guy, don't we, and Ben Rama. But I think Grady's made there. Do you know what I mean? He already has. So I don't know. I don't know how. I'll be honest. I don't know how good these Eze guy is. I've seen loads of clips of that Ben Rama guy. But any of you guys got any insight on them too at all?
Can't say I haven't watched any Championship football at all this year, mate. So I can't say I know anything at all about them. I know they're both very highly regarded. Ben Rama's meant to be the better player, but I can't say I personally know anything about him.
What about you, Lee?
Ben Rama's got a bit of Mahrez about him. Likes to cut in and shoot. By the looks of it, he looks a good player. But I think if Brentford would come up, I imagine he'd stay, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think so. His value would just skyrocket as well, just from them winning that game in a week or so's time, whatever that is. Am I forgetting any midfielders? Forward wingers. Antonio. I think we've discussed most of the Antonio, haven't we? Good season, good goal ratio in the end. Again, the injuries are there. He's always one run away from pulling his hamstring. But he's had a good season, though.
He's had a fantastic season, and you can't knock his work rate, which I don't think is something you could say 2 years ago. His work rate's been fantastic. He's really, really tried. He seems like he's really enjoying his football at the minute, which is brilliant as well. He's 100% got a role in the team as a battering ram, just someone to just cause chaos. He is not and never will be a striker. And if we line up next season with Antonio as our starting striker, I'll be pulling my hair out. But yeah. Go on.
The thing is, I kind of came to this view a couple of weeks ago. He's not good enough to be a winger. Technically,
I think
you can. I agree. The wing, though.
I think he's, and again, I keep saying this. Adama Traore and Antonio are cut from the same mold. Antonio is a player that can just get on the ball and just cause chaos. He can just charge like a ball. He's not. I understand what you're saying. His passing's not really good enough. He's not going to be slipping balls through behind the lines for people to run onto.
Can't cross.
He can't cross. He can't really do anything, to be honest.
He gives defenders something else to think about. I look at St. Maxim at Newcastle. There's a better comparison, I think, because I think Traore's gone on to be a special player now. St. Maxim's still a bit raw. When St. Maxim played against us, we made him look like, I don't know, prime Ronaldinho. You know what I mean? Like running at us terrified. And I think that is what he offers on the wing. He may not get the cross in, he may not, but he definitely keeps people occupied to get Haller into space and Bowen into space. No?
Yeah, I agree completely, mate. Agree completely.
What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I you don't see him doing stepovers and things, do you? I know that's not. I don't want to sound like a 12-year-old FIFA kid, but you don't see him doing skill.
He ain't got the ability
like you would St. Maxim and you would Traore. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I don't quite buy that comparison.
He's a kick and chase merchant, but he does scare defenders.
Oh yeah, definitely scares defenders. 1,000,000% scares defenders.
Can I just say the best we have looked this season is when Haller and Antonio played together.
Definitely. I think it was the game before the lockdown, wasn't it? When he played the Rabona pass over the top to him. Yeah, that
was
game.
The Bournemouth one, wasn't it? I think.
No, what was that game?
And
Southampton.
Even under Southampton, yeah.
When Bowen scored.
But even earlier on the season, even at Christmas, earlier in the season, they played together at Southampton. And they caused so much trouble. Southampton away, they were brilliant, absolutely brilliant that day.
Yeah. One more plat, and then we're going to couple little things, and then we'll wrap it up because we've gone on for a long time. Oh, sorry, long time. Last player then is Haller. When at the beginning, there is a player there. There is, even the Man City game, that first game, we lost 5-0, but there was little layoffs and little touches that were really, really nice. Then he got them couple of goals against Watford. There is a really good player in there. There is. and we've touched on it so many times throughout the season, it's getting support to him. He's been so isolated the whole season. And, people, I do honestly believe that Pellegrini signed him thinking he was going to get a Drogba-like player. But he hasn't got Drogba's work ethic. He hasn't got... Drogba is Drogba. He is, he's more of a... I don't know, more of a Berbatov style player. He's going to run for you. He needs the ball into feet and he needs runners with him. He's got a place at the club for me still, but we desperately need to play the right formation next year. David Moyes really needs to go up to him pre-season and say, look, Seb, what do you need? What formation do you want us to play? You're the 45 million star. What do you need to help you play? No?
Yeah, I kind of see that. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's a really good player. There's no doubt about it. And he, up until Antonio banged in 4 in a game, he was our top goal scorer for the season. Very good technically. He's unlucky not to score. Obviously coming off the bench after the restart. Yeah, that's very unlucky.
What was the game where it looked like it was going to loop over?
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Watford.
Yeah, the Watford game.
Yeah. Very, very unlucky. A couple of times since he's come off the bench after the restart, unlucky not to score. He's a great player, and that is the thing. He's not, he's not someone who, like you say, he's going to pick the ball up, take on 4 players, and bang it in the top corner. He's not that type of player. He needs players around him. Like I said earlier, against Villa, there was a moment at the end of the game where, like I say, you had Lanzini and Haller, a little interchange on the edge of the box. I can't remember, there was another player involved, might have been Rice actually. Really nice little triangle, and we won a free kick from it. If he gets support, if he gets players around him, especially players that's on his level, then he's got the ability to make a difference. Yeah, there you go. And I saw someone in the comments say earlier as well, when he was playing for Frankfurt, he had 2 players around him all the time, and they used to interchange and play off of each other. And then all of a sudden he rocks up at West Ham and he's got no one within 30 yards of him. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work. We're not going to sell him. No one's going to give us the money we paid for him.
No.
So he's going to be here next year. So we need to find a way to use him.
What about you, Lee? A few comments on Haller?
Yeah, I take everything you both said. And for me, a little bit more work ethic won't go amiss. I think, again, it's difficult because his style comes across as quite lazy when perhaps maybe he's not.
I don't think he is lazy. I know what you're saying. He does. It's the typical French miserable, striker. But I don't think his work rate's bad. If you watch him, he runs back, he gets involved, he tries to pick the ball up, he's winning headers, he's winning flick-ons. I don't think his work rate's bad. I'll be honest with you. I think it's a lazy stereotype that people just say, oh, he's a lazy player. I don't believe that. I don't think he's got the ability to pick the ball up and run 20 yards with it, but I don't think he's lazy. I don't think he's lazy at all.
No. Right, a few more things, guys, and then we're going to wrap
it
up.
Do you know what I think he needs? Just very quickly, what he needs, and I never thought I'd say this, is he needs a bit of the Andy Carroll in him, a bit of a nastiness, like throw an elbow in every now and again. Carroll used to get booked every time he went up for a hit. He needs a bit of that in him.
Yeah, just a little bit of nastiness. I agree with that, mate. Okay, couple more things. Right, goal of the season for you guys. You got Haller's one against Watford, overhead kick. He scored another really good goal, didn't he? Was it against Bournemouth? Was it like a little scissory kick thing? We was there, Lee. I'm sure it was like a mini kick.
Yeah.
But I think there's only one winner now, Declan Rice.
It was. Yeah.
Unbelievable goal, no? Anyone else? Any other goals that stick out for you?
Do you know what, mate? I was trying.
Free kick against Man United,
I was literally going to say.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to think earlier about good goals, and I was really struggling. And apart from the Cresswell free kick, Rice, like you say, that.
I'll tell you a little shouty one. Yarmolenko against Chelsea in terms of counter-attacking play.
Yeah, it was a good goal. I don't know if you'd call it goal of the season material.
Sorry, Lego.
His volley against Norwich also very good.
Oh yeah. Moment of the season. I think we're universal, surely, no? David Martin. Unbelievable moment. What a moment. That's a historical moment, let alone, what you think of the season, what you think of him as a player. That is a true fan on the pitch, living his moment, living his dream. His dad's a West Ham legend. And, to see a guy that's the same age as us crying his eyes out, it's a moment. No, is there any other moment like that this season that sticks out for you?
If you're talking about sort of nice moment, and that is it, but in terms of turning point, in terms of moment in the season, it's Chelsea at home for me.
Yeah, 100% for turning point. Yeah, it's Chelsea game. Yeah, definitely. Any others, Paul? Anything? No.
I don't know, mate.
Hat-trick?
Huh?
West Ham get an hat-trick as well? How often do you see that?
Yeah. I agree with you, though. I think Martin's got to be the one that stands out, just for the emotion. And, it was just, like you say, mate.
Those like Premier League review of the seasons they show on Sky Sport? That will be there every year, that moment. 100%. There's two more things I want to talk about, guys, before we wrap it up. So moving forward next year, guys, this is something that we need to change massively. You had those 24 points and we're in a Champions League place. That is another big thing of the season, that, isn't it? And again, that's all down to mentality. And, I'm being a bit of a pushover when we, can't hold on to leads and things like that. And how does that improve? And is it back to that thing Lee said about fullbacks?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. We've scored goals this season. We've scored goals, but we've conceded far, far too many. We're clearly really weak at fullback. We're targeted every single game down the wings. And like you say, it's a mentality thing as well. If West Ham are winning 2-0 and we concede and it goes to 2-1, not just that, like straight away, what are you thinking? You're thinking we're going to lose this. We're going to mess this up. And if the fans are thinking that, you can believe the players are thinking it as well. And it's that weak mentality that they need to get out of. But even if you'd have taken half of those points, what a different position we'd be in.
Oh, massive, mate. What about you, Lee? On the point dropping.
Yeah, same mentality, but also quality of players needs to improve.
It leads back to Roberto a bit as well. I don't know how many times we took the lead when Roberto was in goal. I would have to have a look back on that. But there's been too many times where we just, without saying it, that goes, doesn't it? Last thing, guys, because it was the debut season of it, and I think it's only fair that we end with it and sort of give our opinions on it going forward. And it's that, mate. That is the last thing I want to end with. I hope you can see that, Lee. It says VAR.
Yeah.
Yeah, does anyone else want to start?
Shocking. I was for VAR, and I still am in principle. And I've heard a lot of pundits and a lot of managers and a lot of players say this. I'm for it if it's used correctly and it's used consistently. But it's not. It's not. There needs to be more transparency. They need if they don't look at an incident, they need to say why they didn't look at it. If they look at an incident in a game and then the same incident happens and it's not looked at, why? For me, it's that inconsistency.
Got me. I know we was all chatting about it in the chat at the time. It was literally a couple of weeks ago, the Man United game. How many times did they have to look at that handball? And I'm telling you, it's because we are not a top six club that they were looking for a reason to not give that penalty at Old Trafford. Is that saying conspiracy? I don't know. But for me, it seems when I've watched games and it's against the top six, if there's a reason to disallow it, they will keep looking and looking and looking. What about you, Lee? VAR?
So for offsides, I think because offside is yes and no. I don't care if they have to do that very tiny little knees offside or what. I'm a big fan when it's used for offsides, not so much for like the stupid handball stuff that was given, because it's a more personal opinion, isn't it? A penalty or something. Whereas offside, you either are or you aren't. So for me, that is good using it for offsides, but I think some of the other more contentious issues for less so.
Yeah, I think for the offsides is fine. I do think I think they should change the offside rule back to being clear daylight between an attacker and a defender to be offside, rather than any part you can play the ball being in front. I think they should go back to it being the clear daylight between the defender and attacker, because, like you say, it's yes or no. I think that's where I would go with it. But it would, yes, it's still subjective. Even if you're looking at fouls, you're looking at cards and things like that, it is still subjective. But it's just not consistent. I think that's the biggest thing. And like I say, it's not even consistent.
Being making the decision, that's the problem.
Yeah, and it's not even consistency in the decisions themselves. It's when they don't even look. That's what I don't understand. When sometimes something will happen and VAR don't even look at it, and they need to be more transparent. They need to be more transparent about the decisions they make, why they made the decisions, why they looked at something, why they didn't look at something. But just like the referees, there's no accountability whatsoever. None. There's absolutely no accountability. No one can ask them questions. It's poor. You know, it was Mourinho. I watched one of his interviews after the game, and they asked him about if he'd spoke to the referee after the game. I can't remember what the decision was, whether it was a foul or a penalty or red card or something. And the woman interviewing him said, "Did you speak to the referee after the game?" And he said, "The guy on the pitch is not the referee. The referee's in a porter cabin somewhere looking at a screen. So why would I talk to the guy on the pitch? He's not the one that makes the decisions." And he was exactly right. You know, he's exactly right.
Yeah, I think that is it, guys. We've gone on for a very long time today, but it's always the way when you do a season review. You know, there's so much to talk about over, you know, what's happened in a year this time, isn't it? Not even 9 months, a whole year. You know, the first game was kicking off in a couple of weeks' time. That's just how long this season's been, the longest season ever. We won't even talk about the people that actually won the league, because I know Paul's not the biggest fan. I don't know what Lee's opinions are of Liverpool. Yeah, it's been a disappointing season. My hopes are we can get our business done early, if we can get business done, and that means we need to get players out the window early and get them in quick afterwards. Any summary comments just from you guys to wrap it up in terms of the season and what you want going forward? I'll start with Lee.
Season disappointing, could have been a lot worse. We've stayed up. At the end of the day, that was good for us. Next season, I just want to be able to get back to a stadium.
Yeah, that's a good point. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, it's really poor, disappointing season. Glad it's over. One to forget. At least we did stay up, because I didn't think we were going to. So at least we are still in the Premier League. Let's put this one behind us and go again next year. I'm worried about next year. I don't think Moyes is the man to take us forward, but I'm going to give him every chance.
Get behind him.
Yeah, 100%. I'll get behind him. I'll give him every chance, and I hope he proves me wrong. You know, I really do. I hope he proves me wrong.
He's doing well. Do you know what I mean? If he proves us wrong, it means West Ham are doing well. We'll leave it there. Lee, don't leave it as long next time. Please try and join us a bit more during the next season. Obviously, we know you're away for a couple of weeks now, or a week away and somewhere nice. Yeah, so please join us again very quickly, Lee. I'll let you say a last thing if you want. If you've got anything else to say?
No, nothing else really. Just nice to be back. Nice to get some things off my chest. Yeah, let's hope for a new season start. What, 6 weeks?
Yeah. That's it then, guys. We are 90, I believe. 90 away now from 3,000. 90. We've been sitting there for so long. Me and Paul were texting each other the other day saying about it just doesn't move. It's like it doesn't move, that subscriber count. I really hope we hit that 3,000 very, very soon. And as I say, that is why throughout August, I've set myself, I'm going to do a video every single day, the day of August, the month of August, so that you guys get more content. And I'm hoping that will get us to the 3,000. Yeah, until then, guys, come on your irons, keep believing, put your comments in, you know, if you're watching this back as a rerun, and say anything you found controversial or anything you agree with. It helps us plan for the next show. Until then, let's go.